Hi there and good evening. My name is Thomas Verway and welcome to my presentation, This Is Me, the development of my personal, professional thinking and personal values. So a little bit about me to start us off. I was born and raised in Dubai and I've been studying in the UK for the past 7 years. I'm currently studying a master's degree in project management at NTU. I was the first one in my family to actually graduate from university and get a full degree. I'm a keen traveller and have experience working in different countries and cultures. So most recent example would be I was recently in Rotterdam for a year for my placement year. Some of my things I enjoy doing, I enjoy playing rugby, I enjoy playing football, I'm a keen snow sports advocate, and I enjoy volunteering. So some recent examples again of volunteering was last year or a couple of years ago when I was in Rotterdam, we did some local community stuff where we helped clean up parks, introduce people to the neighbourhood and made sure everyone feel very welcomed, and we just supported local communities. What I set out to achieve as a postgraduate student at NTU. So in the very beginning of the year we were asked to select and write down what we'd want to achieve with our time here. For me, my plans were to work hard and achieve the highest grades I possibly could, to seek and be honest and cooperative with my colleagues and with the seminar tutors, and to plan to learn from my mistakes and grab as many opportunities as I can while here at NTU. Reflecting on some of these goals, I believe I actually secured 2 out of 3 of them. Starting with the first one, currently I'm on a mid to high accommodation, touching on the distinction phase, so I feel like these are the grades I really have worked hard to achieve and I'm achieving what I wanted to. I've always found myself to be honest and cooperative with my course mates and my tutors. I've tried to help out where I can and give people support in the seminars if I feel that they're struggling with English not being their first language. The only one I've really struggled with is trying to take as many opportunities as possible. Obviously it's difficult to take every opportunity presented to you, but I feel like I was lacking in some of the extra guest lectures and all the additional services that NTU provided. And obviously the coronavirus made it a little bit more difficult to reach these opportunities and grab what I wanted to at the time. So if we look at some personality test results, I did like a 16 personality test. I came up with the champion. So this is more an extrovert and I like to run on my feelings more than overthink complications. So some strengths I have: I'm an excellent communicator, I'm imaginative, natural leader and strong social conscience. Some weaknesses: hypersensitivity, lack of focus, and sometimes tends to be over emotional and approval seeking. See, with these kind of results it's very interesting to take a look at yourself and be self-evaluative and self-assess and self-reflect a lot. And that's good with these ones because they do encourage students and people to do that. However, some of the results can be, it's a self-assessment, so you can lie during the results or be untruthful to yourself, meaning that the results you may get doesn't really match your personality at all. For me, I feel like this is a very good match to my personality, and some of these issues I can't see I have, whereas some of the strengths I do possess as well. If we look at my personal development plan from the beginning of the year, there's a few things I wanted to work on, as you can see here. First of all, my organisational skills was a big issue that I've had a lot during my time at NTU. So one way I really wanted to work on developing this further was planning my days and weeks ahead in advance, try to create a schedule for myself. I'd done something very similar to this in Rotterdam when I was working for Keen Footwear, and I did have some success with that. However, this year I didn't really invest as much time as I hoped to into it. One of the things I was really lacking on was actually sticking with the schedule I was creating. So I decided to maybe try and improve my organisational skills by focusing more on my 5-side football team and trying to get my assessments done as early as possible. I plan to achieve this by January, but obviously, like I said earlier, it's not really been something I was focusing as much on this year, which is one of my key regrets. Networking skills is another thing I really wanted to improve this year. So that's more focusing on improving my LinkedIn profile, improving on how I communicate with people and trying to improve my network itself so I can have a more professional network. So one way I plan to improve on this was attending library sessions, postgraduate networking sessions, and like just free events that I can go to where I can try to broaden my horizon and try to meet new people. So far I've gained a few connections on LinkedIn and I'm feeling much more confident in the way I can approach people and network. However, once again I missed out on some of the workshops I could go to in the library sessions. So my networking skills haven't improved as much as I would have liked, but this gives me more room to grow in the future. Looking at leadership skills is number 3. I was very interested in the beginning of the year and still am to become a tech consultant, probably based in Manchester or abroad. So I believe leadership skills is a key thing I need to develop to become truly professional in this field. So one way I try to do it was to take more of a leading role in assessments and group assessments, and maybe again learn some stuff from my five-side football team. And then I also plan to take some more TED Talks and learn some more short videos so that I can improve my skills that way. One way I was able to tell this has increased, I do feel a lot more confident when I'm trying to lead a team, and I feel a lot better in myself when I'm trying to do it, like I have more of an understanding of what I'm actually doing. Like I said, this was the one for me that was probably most important, considering how this is the field I'd like to go in. My last one was my researching and referencing skills. Regarding education, my referencing has never always been the top level. I've always been to mid to low, so this is always something I've wanted to improve on so I can gain those extra marks and improve my grade overall. And then for researching skills, this was more so I could apply it to the current business climate, see what employers are looking for, how I can adapt my skills and adapt myself to fit these needs, and then to see what my future degree might bring me. So for this, the referencing I was planning to have concluded by Christmas, and I can happily say that I feel I'm very confident with my referencing now with the help of online websites such as RefWorks, and just some experience working with tutors who helped me explain through it all. And then regarding the researching current business climates, I've been using the Financial Times, and I feel like I can easily digest information now and understand what it means and its relevance in today's market. So now if we look at my CPD activities and how I plan to reflect on them, we'll start off with the reflection phase. So I plan to use the Gibbs reflective learning cycle method. So this is where I talk about the description, what my feelings were, whether it was a good or bad situation, how I feel it evolved, what sense can I make of it, so a bit more further analysis, the conclusion, and then the action plan, so what I plan to do next time. I'm going to adapt this a little bit and make it a little bit more condensed so it's not such a long process for each activity. If we start off with managing the five-side football time, so just a bit of description, it's a group of friends of mine that I've known throughout my time at NTU. Most of them have graduated and still living in the city. Some of them are still taking on a master's course just like us. So this meant for me I had to take on a lot more responsibility this year. There was a lot more people trying to take it seriously, and I feel like the pressure was building up. So I had to take a lot more responsibility regarding the finances and the organising of the teams and when people were meant to arrive and what the plan was. So this already helped me develop my leadership and organisational skills a bit more because of the extra responsibilities, and it also meant my networking skills could grow a bit as well because I'm talking with the organiser of the event and I'm trying to coordinate with him and make sure everything runs smoothly. So this also helped me practice some leadership skills that I learned from the TED Talks and I was able to develop over the year, because then I could put some stuff in practice and see how it worked with different people and whether or not it was really successful or what I was feeling. So we did have a few issues this year. A lot of people showed up late, we didn't really get much payments on time, and this was causing some tension between me and the organiser. So what we started developing what we started working on was we'd have training sessions half an hour before each game. So that means people got to arrive a bit earlier, warm up, and that meant everyone arrived on time. Regarding the financial side, I started taking a bit more control with this. So instead of people showing up with the £5 or £10 they were owing, I would pay the upfront cost, and then they would bank transfer me or pay me throughout the week. This just made it more streamlined when dealing with the organiser, so he was paid up front, and then I only had to chase my friends, which is much easier than him chasing them up for me. What would I do again in future? I believe I would stick with something like this, keep the same tactics going, and maybe if we have any more issues, we'd probably try to talk about it as a team and try to put some leadership skills in place. If we look at developing my leadership skills abilities through TED Talks, so this was more, because I planned developing my leadership skills this year, I realised, and actually the five-side football was quite an awakening for me. It gave me a bit of recognition that I could develop my skills further. And the only way to really do this was to take some personal learning time. The easiest way I found this to be was through TED Talks, just because shorter videos, I could watch it during the day, and it meant it was easy information for me to take in with quick tips I could learn. Especially when the coronavirus came into effect, it gave me loads more free time, and it gave me a greater opportunity to put some of this stuff in practice, either on my housemates or when we had some online group meetings. So the main feelings I have towards this was that it was effective, and it did teach me a few useful things that I was able to interpret and add to my module. However, some of the videos were too brief. There wasn't enough information in some, and I felt I was spending a lot more time actually trying to search for the videos than actually finding them. So one thing I would do in future is probably not focus so much on the TED Talks, and try to diversify my learning a little bit more. Maybe take a bit more of an academic route and look for some journals I can read, or not just focus on one kind of website like YouTube to find this stuff. So for future reference, I'm probably going to diversify a bit and change it up. If we're researching the current business climate, so as for preparation for entering the professional world, it's always important to kind of take a look at where you're going to be going to, how I plan to live there, and what skills are needed for the job. So according to a recent study, the main attributes that are considered during the recruitment process are the personal attitude of the candidate, the employability skills they possess, the relevant work experience, and the actual overall degree result they received. So using this, I believe that the personal attitude reflects nicely with my 16 personality test I did earlier. Being an extrovert means it'll be easier for me to handle interviews. Employability skills, for me, these are more of the technical aspects and stuff I can learn on the job or throughout. Relevant work experience, I've been traveling a lot across the globe. I'm trying to diversify a bit with my history, so I feel like I'm gaining the correct amount of work experience for this. And then the overall degree result, as I've said earlier, I'm getting a relatively high grade for this master's course, so I'm hoping that can give me the extra push I need. I've also been using the free subscription to the Financial Times provided by NTU in order to keep updated and get weekly updates about what's been happening during the coronavirus and actually just in general itself, so I can keep up to date with what's going on and stay informed. This is more so if I do get a chance to do an interview, I can come up with up-to-date and relevant information and relevant examples that they can use, and it shows that I've done a bit more research and I'm a bit more invested. I then moved my research into studying current job opportunities, so now I have enough. I can now discover where I want to go and what I'd like to do. And so what I started doing was shortlisting cities and countries I'd like to move to, and then see what opportunities are there through LinkedIn and Indeed. So I first started off with cities that are a bit closer to home, such as Manchester and London, because these were the two I really preferred. And I've now started applying for jobs and shortlisting jobs related to consultancy and technology in these regions, so I can get as many options as possible and see which ones suit me best. I've also created a little short list for countries I want to try overseas that I maybe would like to visit in 5 or 6 years' time, such as Rotterdam and maybe Utrecht, focusing more on the Hollands, in the Netherlands even, just because I feel confident in my abilities there and I've lived there before. I understand that continuous professional development is a key aspect for employability as well, so this is something that I plan to continue doing in the future, and that will be discussed later on in the presentation. So this year I also joined the NTU Snow Sports Society again, and I started picking up using a bit more of the sports facilities provided. So throughout my time at uni, I've been part of the Snow Sports Society from first year. This is more of the social and the Wednesday gatherings before Ocean, and then we get a few practice ski sessions throughout the year. This has been great opportunities for me to test my communication skills, work on ways of networking with students who are maybe in my field, maybe outside my field, but just to get a bit more contacts in the professional world. And I believe it's important for learning to have that social release as well. If we relate to the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, belongingness and love, or belongingness and a sense of, self, is very important for someone when they're working and studying, because it just means they get that little break and they can keep their mind occupied. As I've said here, it works improves their workers to be efficient. Reflecting on this, obviously I feel very positive about it. It's a great thing for me to experience, making new friends and always talking with people, and it's really helped me deal with some troubling times I've had this year. However, I've been part of the Snow Sports Society for a few years now, so a lot of the people I did know, I feel like if I maybe tried different societies, I might have been able to broaden my horizon a little bit more and get some extra networking skills in there, which I've been really needing this year. I also feel maybe relating more to the project managers or the students in my course might have helped strengthen my networking skills even further and just give me a bit more of a foot in the door when it comes to that professional world. So in future, I think sticking with societies like this is a very positive thing for me to do, and I feel like maybe if I diversify a bit more in the future, I can really find something that's for me. So how I plan to continue my professional development into the future. So maintaining professional development is really important for employability and seeking a career, especially in project management. So Google Analytics is something I was working on during my bachelor's degree. Currently I have a beginner's level certificate in it. This just means that I'm developing my skills in IT a bit more, and it's showing my employer that I'm interested in developing these skills more. So what I plan to do in future is move from a beginner to an intermediate level and then keep increasing these skills and improving them as I develop. I also plan to do continuous research into the current business market. Similar to what I've been doing this year, I plan to next year get a Financials Times subscription and maybe invest a bit more into learning about how these business worlds work and like getting a bit more information on it. So by reading the Telegraph and trying to stay informed with the news every day. This is more so during interviews or during the workday. I'm able to keep up to date with information and see what's relevant and not relevant to my career. And then finally, sustainability in practice. Last year again, I was fortunate enough to do the Sustainability in Practice certificate, which was part of my tourism module. This was more so we study the effects that travel and the tourism industry is having on the environment and what ways we can do to reduce this impact and how we can make it more sustainable altogether. I plan to keep looking into this, maybe not so specifically for the travel, but maybe just how I can make a difference in being more sustainable. So by water usage, where I can get green foods and eco-friendly foods and stuff that I can do to help reduce my carbon footprint. This can also be taken in with the UN Global Goals, and I'll explain that more later on. So now if we were to answer my answers to the prepared questions, looking at question 1. My personal opinion regarding the 2030 UN Global Goal. I believe that the UN Global Goals are an important part for our society to kind of look forward and search in ways we can improve. Obviously we have a lot of imperfections across the world, such as poverty, gender inequalities, the list goes on. I believe that these global goals show the good side of humanity that we should keep promoting and prospering. However, some of these global goals seem a bit unachievable at the minute, and especially the way we're going as a society. I feel like to really improve our chances of getting these global goals succeeded and reaching them by 2030, we really need to improve our education on some of the topics. Most recent example would probably be paid partnerships or keeping the water clean. Not enough people are educated on how dirty some of the public water is in our taps, and even paid partnerships. So obviously we see a lot more fair trade going around now. However, there's not really enough to make that massive difference between the lower economically developed countries and the higher ones. So there needs to be a bit more research into that and a bit more investment to really improve our chances. Looking at question 2, reflecting on my knowledge this year, how do I think I can make a difference in relation to the global goals of my profession? So obviously being a technology consultant is my dream, and hopefully it does come together. One way I would try to make changes regarding the global goals, the main one I can really see myself taking control of is the inequalities between the male and female gender and even the transgender and LGBTQ community. Main ways I can try to improve this would be creating safe spaces and places where they feel that they can have great communication and work really well within the office, and then even trying to extend this outside of my profession, so just day-to-day lives and making sure people feel inclusive and safe where they are. How will I go about building a team to deliver on a key project? So the first thing I would really do is identify the needs of the project. From there you can kind of identify what needs to be filled, what goals they need, and what jobs need to be completed in order to reach the overall objective. From there you kind of work backwards, so you look then for more what positions are needed, and then once you start going through the recruitment stage, say we need 6 IT guys, I would then start working on what skills they have, the experience they have within this field, if they have a history of doing a project like this, and then for me most importantly would be the team dynamics. So obviously working with a group of different people, personalities can clash. It's important that you have a good team dynamic where everyone feels they can work efficiently rather than going against each other and piling up the work. Can I describe a time when a team members disagree with you and what did I do to resolve the situation? So earlier this year we were required to work in groups and put together a group essay. The way we did this was we broke it up into different paragraphs and different sections and gave each of us a section to work on. We had a few disagreements over how the words should be written down and the context, but the main one we really suffered a disagreement on was one of our co-workers refused to use a laptop. This made it very difficult to share work with her and trust that the research she was doing was up to the standard the rest of the class was expecting. We didn't really resolve this in the best way possible. What we had to end up doing was we had a few disagreements and we had to basically break her work down further between the rest of us and then start tackling it piece by piece. Obviously we got the best result we could have got, and I was very happy with it. It's still a mid-accommodation. However, we should have handled this situation better, and I think in future we might have to break the work down So make it so the work is delegated in teams rather than each person does it on their own. This way, if we have someone who doesn't have the right amount of technology or the right skills to carry out their work, they can use their teammate to kind of boost them up and they can work together. Finally, what key things that we learned from working as part of a culturally diverse team? Obviously, growing up in Dubai, I've had a bit of a cultural upbringing in itself anyway, but the main thing I really learned this year was patience. Obviously, a lot of people came to our course and English wasn't their first language or their strongest language, so the main thing I learned was patience. If they're trying to explain their point, I usually have a tendency of jumping in on people's conversations or jumping in on their sentence, trying to get to the point quicker. What I really learned this year was slow it down, kind of let them have their piece, let them say what they need to say, and then if there's any confusion, it's always best just to tell them straight away, I'm confused by what you said, and then we can work backwards from there. Not only does it make them feel more confident in their ability to add to the group, it also helps them to learn more, and it helps them learn the English language more, which is something I take pride in. Okay, thank you very much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed it.